morning, boys and girls. I hope you're all doing very well today. Well, we have finished the story of King Saul, and today we're going to learn about who the new king of Israel will be. So, we'll be looking at 1 Samuel 16 from verse 1 to 13. 1 Samuel 16 from verse 1 to 13, and we'll read out of the New International Reader's Version of the Bible, which is God's Word. This is the way God speaks to us. And the version, the New International Reader's Version, you can find on the YouVersion app if you're interested in that. So let's see who is this new king that will be chosen. The Lord said to Samuel, "How long will you be filled with sorrow because of Saul? I have refused to have him as king over Israel. Fill your animal horn with olive oil and go on your way. I am sending you to Jesse in Bethlehem. I have chosen one of his sons to be king." But Samuel said, "How can I go? Suppose Saul hears about it, then he'll kill me." The Lord said, "Take a young cow with you. Tell the elders of Bethlehem, I've come to offer a sacrifice to the Lord. Invite Jesse to the sacrifice. Then I will show you what to do. You must anoint for me the one I point out to you." Samuel did what the Lord said. He arrived at Bethlehem. The elders of the town met him. They were trembling with fear. They asked, "Have you come in peace?" Samuel replied, "Yes, I've come in peace. I've come to offer a sacrifice to the Lord. Set yourselves apart to him and come to the sacrifice with me." Then he set Jesse and his sons apart to the Lord. He invited them to the sacrifice. When they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab. He thought, "This has to be the one the Lord wants me to anoint for him." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not consider how handsome or tall he is. I have not chosen him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outside of a person, but the Lord looks at what is in the heart." Then Jesse called for Abinadab. He had him walk in front of Samuel. But Samuel said, "The Lord hasn't chosen him either." Then Jesse had Shammah walk by. But Samuel said, "The Lord hasn't chosen him either." Jesse had 7 of his sons walk in front of Samuel. But Samuel said to him, "The Lord hasn't chosen any of them." So he asked Jesse, "Are these the only sons you have?" "No," Jesse answered. "My youngest son is taking care of the sheep." Samuel said, "Send for him. We won't sit down to eat until he arrives." So Jesse sent for his son and had him brought in. He looked very healthy. He had a fine appearance and handsome features. Then the Lord said, "Get up and anoint him. This is the one." So Samuel got the animal horn that was filled with olive oil. He anointed David in front of his brothers. From that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully on David. Samuel went back to Ramah. So very interesting, boys and girls. We know that David will become king, but David seems a little bit like a nobody in the story. He is the youngest of the sons of Jesse, and while they're actually looking for him, while Samuel is looking at the different sons of Jesse, asking the Lord who is king, David is actually looking after the sheep. He is a shepherd, which is not a very important job in those days. And then, eventually, David gets chosen as the new king of Israel. And most people would say, well, this is not really the kind of king that I would necessarily choose, because he doesn't look as if he has much to offer. The problem with that is, boys and girls, that us as humans, a lot of times we look at the outward appearance of people and think how important they are and how worthy they are because of how they look. But that is not how God looks. God looks at the heart. God looks at the inner person. And this choosing of King David reminds us, or actually points forward to another person, very, very important one, much more important than David, who will also seem from the outside as if he has nothing to offer, yet he offers the whole world himself on a cross. And the prophet Isaiah spoke about him in Isaiah 53 verse 2 to 3. I'm going to read it for us. Isaiah 53 verse 2 to 3. He didn't have any beauty or majesty that made us notice him. There wasn't anything special about the way he looked that drew us to him. People looked down on him. They didn't accept him. He knew all about pain and suffering. He was like someone people turned their faces away from. We looked down on him. We didn't have any respect for him. Now, boys and girls, can you guess who this prophet Isaiah is speaking about, who he is prophesying about? Well, it is King Jesus. King Jesus will be born in a stall, which is a place for animals. He will be laid down in a manger, which is actually the feeding place for animals. That is the way he comes into this world. And eventually, Jesus will die for all the sins of the world. So, boys and girls, I want you to remember for today, the most important thing that God looks at is the heart. Well, that's it for today, boys and girls, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.